Hi, this is Andrea Jennings. Welcome to Access for All Integrating Accessibility, where we explore the intersection of pop culture and accessibility. We're shining the spotlight on those who are opinion leaders in the accessibility world. They are making a groundbreaking change on this show. So join us each episode as we change the future.
We provide supports and services to people with disabilities and older adults. Doesn't matter the age, doesn't matter the disability, doesn't matter the income or your residency status here in this country. As long as you identify as having a disability or you're aging, then we can serve you depending on the need. And our biggest request for services is our advocacy services, our peer counseling, and then our employment services programs and our college support programs. So I would say those are the biggest requests, or those are the biggest services that get used. Our biggest request is housing.
Housing. Thank you for that, because a lot of people don't know that this service exists, that we even have one in most of our cities, or at least neighboring cities, and that we even have one in Pasadena. You mentioned media, right? And so there's still an opportunity for you to still get into media. I wanted to back up and say that, right? But also, tell me a little bit about what your company did for people, speaking of housing, that just lost their homes due to the recent fires, the Eaton Canyon fires and the Pacific Palisades fires.
Yeah. So Pasadena is our community. We have 3 offices here in Pasadena. So it was very personal for my CEO and for our leadership team. So 2 days after the fire erupted here, we mobilized, he mobilized us to come to the shelter and make ourselves available, whatever that looked like. And it was difficult in the beginning, if I'm being honest. It was. There wasn't a whole lot of organization, especially on how to adequately serve.
Our community.
Yes.
Our disabled community, I should
Yes.
say.
And so, in that sense, I guess we're fortunate that we were there. And so in terms of the housing, that is the biggest challenge. A lot of support came forward that was in the media. Airbnb and hotel chains and etc. were providing time limited accommodations. But Airbnb, for example, it's really challenging to identify accessible properties. Hotels was even a shorter time frame to stay in, so it wasn't anything permanent or even long term. So that's still an ongoing challenge. But we were able to fill other gaps, and we're really proud of that. Assistive technology being the biggest one. Second to that, I would say, is the case management support, helping them during this time to fill out all of the paperwork that's required of them to get the assistance that they're going to need from the federal government or the state.
Yeah.
So
that's a really good thing. And I wanted to back up for a moment when you said that it was a little unorganized. As a disabled person that is understanding of community needs, how did that make you feel?
it's frustrating, upsetting even, but we are advocates. But there's a time for that, I think, unless it's absolutely necessary. Um, there's no time to play politics or anything like that when people need help. And so we we've taken notes and we'll address those things
Mm-hmm.
when it's appropriate. But right now, our focus is and has been our now consumers, I guess you can say, our community members here in Pasadena, Altadena. Um, yeah.
Yeah. And I say this to you because, like myself, I'm a commissioner, and then I'm also a resident. And so I answer like for the part of me that's a resident, I'm looking and thinking of solutions. Um, like you said, moving forward on what can be done. Because I have to look at and see what are some of the things that I could benefit from. I look at it from that perspective. Because sometimes that makes the best leaders when they kind of go inward and say, like, what would I need? What are some of the things that I need? And I want to ask you, how can emergency preparedness programs better support people? And it doesn't have to be like a long list, but I'm finding some great ideas. Someone told me about phone, I think maybe just like phone support groups where somebody says, okay, you call Hector, make sure you call Andrea, make sure that she's okay, just to be connected and not always dependent on maybe the city to do things for them, trying to make sure that we also understand how to support one another.
Yeah, we've organized town halls in the past regarding emergency preparedness, disaster preparedness, recovery, and all of that. Um, and that's for me, anyways. I'll speak for myself. That's what's puzzling to me,
Mm-hmm.
is we have these conversations, we have these meetings, we put things down on paper, and when something happens, everything seems to be forgotten.
Gotcha.
And I don't know why that is yet. I don't know if it's staff turnover. It's something still missing, but yeah, we have to do a better job. And certainly, we cannot depend on government, at least in the beginning. So, to your point, I think it is really important that we lean on community, our neighbors,
Yeah.
wherever we may be living. A lot of folks are unhoused at the shelter that we were at, but even they deserve the same level of support, and they should also be able to lean on their community
Yeah.
where they might be sleeping. So
Yeah.
community is definitely at the top of the list.
I've heard that there were people on registry lists, but those lists, they didn't get called. And I think that's an important conversation, because we can come up with some solutions. I think maybe different departments should work more cohesively, more collaboratively, possibly. Maybe we can use tech, to maybe get those lists in people's phones and things like that.
You need people with lived experience in those positions,
Yes.
and I think that's still lacking. You need disabled people in city government, county government, the federal government, etc. Um, because I'm almost certain 9 times out of 10, if you fill those roles, it may not be perfect, but
Mm-hmm.
I think the response would be a lot better than it continues to be now.
Yeah.
So,
Speaking of roles, speaking of people with lived experience in positions.
sure. Yeah. So I started there in 2010 in a part time position, helping people transition back into the community from skilled nursing facilities, hospitals, etc. Um, and then moved into a full time position as an advocate.
Mm-hmm.
So the advocate covers all of the services that the SIL offers. So helping people apply for benefits like Social Security, Medi-Cal, CalFresh, etc. Um, and then when our current CEO came on board in 2016, he promoted me to program manager for community organizing, policy work, and systems change. He felt that that was my niche,
Mm-hmm.
is advocacy, and so I did that for a little bit. And as the organization was growing, um, some of us grew with it, and so um, my niche these days still is tied to community organizing, but
Mm-hmm.
more of a development role in still connecting with community to build out the organization and grow our programs in different cities.
That's really great because it's not about. We talked about that with Tiffany Yu about it's not just a job, something that Terry Hartman Squire says, but it's building your career. And it sounds like where you work now, to your point earlier about hiring people with lived experience, you have grown a career, and so that's really important. Tell me something a little bit about what Hector likes to do for fun and recreation.
Yes, a lot of what I do may appear or may be directly connected to my job,
Mm-hmm.
um, but it's also my passion. I live to serve and to help. It's why I'm also on the city commission for Los Angeles, on the county commission on disability for the county. I insert myself into these roles um, because they're not jobs; they don't pay.
Mm-hmm.
To be on the commission is voluntary, but I want to help in every area that I can. It also helps for networking opportunities because I think the more people you know, the more you can offer our consumers, the folks that need the assistance. So,
Yeah.
but yes, on the weekend, I just enjoy family time because Monday through Friday, it is go, 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 go.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and being a salaried employee,
Yeah.
it's not your typical 8 hours either. So, um, but yeah, family time I think is at the top of my list. I enjoy movies. I enjoy reading, writing, um, technology.
Mm-hmm.
As I was saying, photography is something I still love.
Mm-hmm.
I left the video recording, but I still love photography, and
Yeah.
either it's the company's equipment for events or my own for personal time. So
Yeah. And what I hear you saying is your personal and your professional mission are really aligned. So, and I get that because I'm the same way. I really am passionate, and I love your answer about being passionate. And tell me something a little bit about your commission work. What commission are you on, and how long have you been a commissioner?
yeah, so I've been on the County Commission on Disabilities for Los Angeles since 2016.
Okay.
I was appointed by the first district supervisor, which is Hilda Solis, and for that I was recommended by a friend, Mikey, and for the city, I just got appointed uh, about a week ago. So
Congratulations.
I've not been to my first meeting yet, but that is the commission on the Disabled Access Appeals Board. So I suspect that we're going to be reviewing denials of access applications. Um, so I'm excited for that because that's definitely going to be different than the county commission,
Mm-hmm.
where we convene to both hear from constituents but
Mm-hmm.
also come up with things to advise the board of supervisors.
Got you. And in your role as a commissioner, I'm also commissioner for the City of Pasadena Accessibility and Disability Commission. And a lot of times people don't understand what my role is, but it's to advise council. We can advise on certain, ideas about legislation and policies, but it's a position that's very advisory. Is your position and your role as commissioner the same?
It is,
Okay.
yes, on the county side.
Mm-hmm.
It is an advisory role. But as I mentioned earlier, it's it also allows an opportunity to get to know people.
Yeah.
So what may not be possible through bureaucracy,
Mm-hmm.
perhaps someone within the office of the supervisor knows of an organization because they're out there every day
Mm-hmm.
connecting with organizations and community as well. So it's the connections that I use a lot as well to help people hopefully get what they're looking for.
So a lot of people don't understand, especially with the recent fires, the difference between, since you're county commissioner as well, Altadena and Pasadena, and also does your organization serve both?
We do, yes. So centers for independent living have catchment areas,
Mm-hmm.
which are boundaries that are identified by the zip codes.
Mm-hmm.
And this was it's all centers for independent living. So we serve a large chunk of the San Gabriel Valley, which includes the city of Pasadena and unincorporated Altadena. And so yes, so the city of Pasadena has its own health department, police department, etc.
Housing
Whereas
department, yeah.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
and city council, and then Altadena is part of the county of Los Angeles. So Catherine Barger and county services and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's definitely a distinction there, but um, again, we cover the San Gabriel Valley, East LA, and then Southeast Los Angeles
Gotcha.
for our SIL services.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But we also have our fee for service programs, and that's how we've been able to expand statewide.
And what's the fee for service programs? Can
So
you
we're
explain that?
contracted with both the California Department of Rehabilitation
Got you. Okay.
for employment services.
Mm-hmm.
So any adult 18 or over with a disability or consumer rather of Department of Rehab who needs assistance finding a job or a career, our employment specialists help them with that. We're also contracted with the regional centers.
Okay.
So the regional centers are unique to California, and we support consumers of the regional centers, typically also 18 and over, either in employment services,
Mm-hmm.
so helping them, that's a little more hands-on with them. It's
Mm-hmm.
a different demographic, or helping them achieve their degree
Mm-hmm.
or vocational certificate, so going to college with them. So our staff accompany them to class every day, help them take notes and study and do their homework and things like that. So employment and college, we're very big of our community needs to continue to grow.
Mm-hmm.
We need we're the advocates right now, but who are the advocates of tomorrow? And so our programming is set up in a way to ensure that we're preparing them to take our positions hopefully in the future. We have a summer leadership program that we do as well, that focuses specifically on that and developing their leadership skills, their interest in STEM, particularly science and technology. So we do a lot. And so all of these things are fee for services. Ed Roberts and other advocates started this movement almost 4 decades ago, or about 4 decades ago, and it's still the case today. It's written in law where we exist because it is a part of the Rehabilitation Act, and so every SIL is its own nonprofit. We're not connected in that way. We're all sister organizations of each other, you can say. And every SIL will have different capacities, different resources, because they're tailored to their communities. For us, we are a much larger still, and it also depends on its leadership. But to your question of led by people with disabilities, absolutely. We are a staff of about 160 employees right now, and well over 85% of our team has identified as having a disability,
That is amazing, Hector.
as well as our board of directors must have a disability.
Oh, got you. Really? That's amazing. I know that. So I wasn't born with a disability. I acquired my disability via a car accident. And I know that the center really helped me and helped me find resources and also helped me to know that someone else was out there besides me, fighting. So I know that this is a really good organization as far as communities, community building. What are some of the barriers that you see constantly coming up?
Yeah, infrastructure, transportation, especially on demand transportation,
Mm-hmm.
um, housing, the lack of universal design, both in development and in housing, is almost non existent. So, those are three things that come to mind as the barriers that we continue to see, that we continue to hear about, and also continue to advocate for. Um, we have a huge housing crisis, I suspect, across the country, but definitely here in California. That's where my pulse is. And so, um, advocating and pushing for universal design is at the top of my list, anyways, when I get to go to city council meetings or meet with elected officials or teach our consumers to advocate for,
Yes.
etc.
Mm-hmm.
Because we need the community's voice.
Yeah.
I'm only one person,
Yeah.
and yes, I represent a SIL or a commission, but it's not enough. Um, and this is not a barrier per se, but I really feel like we need more allies
Mm-hmm.
in the disability community. There's not enough allies. I look at other marginalized communities, and there's a huge support for them. Um, and I'm right there with them. I support those other communities, but where is the support for mine?
Yeah.
So that's something that I continue to push for as well, is trying to identify more allies in our community.
And what does an ally look like for you? Like, what does that look like?
It means that you're gonna be intentional about what we need, and that you're gonna speak out
Mm-hmm.
about it. You can't be an ally if you're not gonna speak on
Mm-hmm.
it. I think,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whatever, however that may look like for you. But yeah, whether it's through your social media channels, whether it's going to city government, county government, whatever that may be, or just in your day to day life,
Mm-hmm.
right? It can be as simple as moving the shopping carts from the crosshatches at the grocery store, or not using the large ADA stalls in the restrooms.
Yeah.
Um, it can also be that simple,
Yeah.
but there are more significant ways to be an ally. That really is what I am looking for,
Yeah.
is identifying the allies and then ensuring that those allies know what access should look like. Because it's not just physical access. I speak on physical access because that's my need,
Mm-hmm.
but there are so many needs, and it 9 out of 10 of those needs don't require a whole lot of work, and certainly not a whole lot of money, and that's often a scapegoat for employers, for developers, for whomever. Things cost money. It doesn't have to.
Yeah.
Actually, oftentimes it's cheaper. So, anyways,
Absolutely.
but
Yeah.
yeah, just allyship and intentionality.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. It was amazing getting to know you better. And the fact that we work in the same community and that we hadn't had this conversation before amazes me, but it also says how big our community is. Something that we talked about, like I have a pretty small family. No matter what, we always support each other, even if we're not even like on the best of terms. And that's what I want to see more for community. Not so much do I agree with this person, do I not, but if there's a need, that people come together. And I do notice that Pasadena is like that, and our disability community. So thank you for being here and showing up on short notice and supporting us and Pasadena media.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really glad that we connected just a few days ago, and hope to stay connected with you and the commission.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Continue to do great work. I hope you learned something today watching Access for All Integrating Accessibility, where we take a deep dive into the subject of accessibility above and beyond compliance.